meet the bridegroom. 5 of them were foolish, and 5 were wise. When the foolish took their lamps, they took no oil with them, but the wise took flasks of oil with their lamps. As the bridegroom was delayed, all of them became drowsy and slept. But at midnight there was a shout, "Look, here's the bridegroom. Come out to meet him." Then all those young women got up and trimmed their lamps. The foolish said to the wise, "Give us some of your oil, for our lamps are going out." But the wise replied, "No, there will not be enough for you and for us. You had better go to the dealers and buy some for yourselves." And while they went to buy it, the bridegroom came, and those who were ready went with him into the wedding banquet, and the door was shut. Later, the other young women came also saying, "Lord, Lord, open to us." But he replied, "Truly I tell you, I do not know you. Keep awake, therefore, for you know neither the day nor the hour."
I'm not sure there is a such thing as a normal wedding. Every couple is unique, every family, every faith have their traditions, and every big day has surprises. As a minister, I get to be a part of lots of these types of services, be a part of the intimate nature of a lot of weddings and funerals. We also get the blessing of seeing the couple and the family behind the scenes, not just the polished what happens, but everything that leads up to it, the good and the wonky. Sometimes things go as expected, sometimes they go off the rails. Sometimes things are strange way before the wedding day ever comes. My favorite wedding was probably one in Missouri. A couple asked to meet me at the local lake just outside of town. The groom's ankle monitor wouldn't make it all the way to my office. So I asked about going to him, and he said, "We can't do that. My fiance's ankle monitor won't make it to my place." So we met at the lake. That's where they had been meeting. That's where they had been dating ever since they'd met in rehab, been released into home care and on parole. This is where they gathered. It's where they built their relationship. They got clean, they stayed in touch. They knew this was more than a short-term romance fueled by the intimacy of recovery. They knew it. They tested it sitting by the lake on dates, where their monitors would both be in compliance. Then they found a minister who lived near the lake and was willing to marry this strange couple. We did premarital counseling by the lake. By the time the wedding day arrived, they had also conceived a child by the lake. And even though they were both off probation and free to go wherever they wanted, there was no other place to have the wedding than by the lake. We gathered on a hillside just below one of the picnic shelters in a circle. The couple came into the middle and exchanged vows they had written. Their family, including a couple of children from previous relationships, came into the circle and joined with them holding hands. And we had a blessing of the family. And then everybody scooted in tighter, put their arms around one another, as we did a blessing of the community that would support and love them. Then the bride and groom hopped on a boat that was at the shoreline and headed out for a lap around the lake. Their version of going back up the aisle at the end. The family, including all the extended cousins and friends, headed up to the picnic shelter to start getting things ready. And then that's when I discovered the wedding party all had their swimsuits under their sundresses and nice clothes. Within 30 seconds, they had stripped down from fancy formal to picnic at the lake. If you didn't come prepared to get wet, if you didn't bring your boat shoes and clothes, if you didn't bring your towel, it was too late. By the time you went back to town to get what you needed, the party would have been well underway. You would have been last in line for food and probably didn't get a turn on water ski. I did another wedding outside of town in that same area at a trailer park out in the country. It was a large double-wide trailer that was well decorated for the occasion. I pulled up after doing worship, and my congregation drove out there. The signs of celebration were all over the outside. It was beautiful. They'd made everything look perfect. As you came in through these sliding doors on the back of the trailer, they had an altar set up, covered in cloth with candles, a flower to remember a grandmother, a photo of other beloved family that couldn't be there. Everything was set up while pre-race coverage of a NASCAR race was on the TV. If you imagine the communion table as the altar, and the altar as a big screen TV, you get the picture. We're looking past the altar and candle to watch the pre-race coverage. Everything was set. A few last guests trickled into the small living room. When it was time for the ceremony, someone hit mute on the TV. Then one of the mothers came over and took the remote and turned it off. I knew this was my cue. This was the signal. We had about 5 minutes based on the planning I'd done with the bride and groom. So I said something about love and marriage. They said some vows to each other. I blessed them and proclaimed them husband and wife. And then someone turned back the TV to the on position. The commercials were over. The national anthem had just ended. 2 groomsmen picked up either side of the altar on its edges, revealing the beer chest underneath. They opened it up just as the announcer on TV said, "Gentlemen, start your engines," which I took to mean, amen, go in peace. I'm not sure there's ever been a normal wedding, but I can tell you with that one, if you came in late, your beer was warm. The ice had long been covered and sealed as the decorating took place. Every wedding's different, but if you go to enough, you do start to pick up some expectations. Even across cultures, you start to pick up some different tropes and different movements. You can start to follow along in what's happening. But it's when those expectations are challenged that the chaos starts. And that's often where the really good stories begin. In our story today, this parable of Jesus that he's telling, there are some assumptions about what a wedding is like. We don't really have the progressive party from one place to another with one of the couple picking up family members and friends to the community before they make it to the final celebration. We definitely don't have the year-long engagement where you're already considered married to the point that one of you would be a widow if the other died in that time before the service ever happens. There are some traditions that aren't ours, but there is this big hoopla, and the people listening to Jesus' story knew it. They understood the procession from one place to another. They understood that this story really had little to do with the couple. He's going to do what he's going to do. She's going to be there at the end. Yes, it's a very heteronormative story and process, but that's the culture and the context. The story isn't the couple. It's those around them, which is often the truth of the wedding, right? Some of the bride's party, young women, come with an expectation of time. I'm sure there's some things about weddings that are very different. But the fact that a wedding's going to start on time, there's not been many weddings. And that a wedding's going to follow the timeline given, that wedding reception and follow-through have ever all been perfectly on time. There's a big celebration at the end of this progressive party, and these young women are also confident that it's going to start on time, and that if anything happens, surely someone will let them in. Clearly they're young. Some translations don't call them bridesmaids, but virgins. If nothing else, it's clear they've not been to a lot of weddings. At least 5 of them have not. It's a progressive event, and they assume there will be time for whatever they need to do. They expected also other singles attending a wedding to make this a group project and not a competitive atmosphere for a target-rich environment. Another really naive assumption if you've been to many weddings. Those who did not have enough oil were just stuck. They couldn't carry a burned-out lamp in the dark, much less in a ceremonial parade where you're carrying light. It'd be silly. They couldn't really show up late. The people they knew were inside. The people manning the door weren't going to know them. They're gate crashers at this point. They try and go get more fuel, but the moment has passed. The party moves on without them. The party moves on without them. Some of us can clearly identify with this. How many of you feel like you've been playing catch-up for so long that you're always exhausted when you make it, even if you catch up with the moment? We've been behind our entire lives, always hustling just to be late. Some of us can really identify with this. We're used to a culture of convenience. We're used to others supporting us, and then sometimes it just all falls apart. In the day-to-day world, the one we live in, this kind of makes some sense. In the day-to-day interactions we have, we also know it's good to support each other where we can. But there's another level to this, another layer, another context. At some point, there are things that others cannot do for us. There are things others can't do for us. It doesn't matter how charitable they want to be. It doesn't matter how compassionate they are. At some point, we have to prepare ourselves to stand on our own. We have to be accountable for who we want to be. We have to be accountable for who we want to be. That doesn't mean we have to have it all figured out. It doesn't mean we won't make a lot of mistakes. But we have to be accountable for who we want to be. If we say we're going to put our family first, it doesn't change our past priorities. We may never have done that before in our lives. But if we say we want to put our family first, it won't fix our broken relationships immediately, but it might. If we say we want to put our family first, if we say we're going to do it, then we have to do it. We don't say we would like to put our family first and then hope our family will help us put them first. We have to do it moving forward. If we say we are going to love our neighbor just as Jesus taught us, that won't get rid of our biases. If we say we want to love our neighbor just as Jesus taught us, it won't immediately heal our communities. It might over time, but it won't immediately. But if we say we want to do it, we have to do it, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. We can't say we want to love our neighbor as Jesus did and then hope our neighbors will love us enough that we can tolerate it. We can't hope somebody else will smooth out the rough edges and help us love our neighbor. We actually have to be accountable for who we want to be. There's actually a reflection of this concept in the big book from Alcoholics Anonymous. Some of you may be familiar with it, and you'll recognize I'm leaving out a passage just for brevity. Our stories disclose in a general way what we used to be like, what happened, and what we're like now. If you've decided you want what we have and are willing to go to any length to get it, then you are ready for certain steps. At some of these we balked. We thought we could find an easier, softer way, but we could not. With all the earnestness at our command, we beg of you to be fearless and thorough from the very start. Some of us have tried to hold on to old ideas, and the results were nil until we let go absolutely. Half measures availed us nothing. We stood at the turning point. We asked for God's protection and care with complete abandon. And here are the steps we took. We have to be accountable for who we want to be. If we want to be healthier, we have to exercise and eat better. If we want to be more understanding, we have to listen more. If we want to be a little less racist, we've got to study, learn, practice. If we want to be less angry, we got to deal with our anger. If we want to be less scared, we have to face our fears. If we want to follow Jesus, we have to actually listen to Jesus. Not what a podcast says Jesus said, not what someone else said Jesus said, not what's politically comfortable or meets our privilege, but what Jesus said. And love all our neighbors. We have to be accountable for who we want to be. How often has someone been so busy decorating that they missed the Christmas they were so deeply committed to? How often has someone been so busy cleaning that they missed the family visit that they had insisted take place? How often has someone been busy planning, so busy planning that they missed the life that they were preparing for? How often have we said something that was important to us, but then took it for granted? How often have we listened or listed our priorities? How often have we said, these are the key things for us, and then acted out of our own convenience? How often have we said one thing and ended up doing another? Probably a lot. How often have we done those things and then got upset with somebody else for it? It's easier than taking that thorough and fearless look at ourselves, being accountable for who we want to be. We have to be accountable for who we want to be. Now, we can ask for help. We can reach out to those we love and trust, seeking guidance and wisdom. We can reach out to experts. We can consult books, seeking to learn and to grow. We can reach out to agencies, communities, therapists, doctors, experts, adding partners to our journey, accompanists and mentors. We can ask for help. And then we can stop and pray. We can pause and talk to God. We can take time to listen to God. It's interesting, in our story today, we have 5 bridesmaids completely unprepared, and they go seeking solutions with the dealers, trying to find an economic solution just to buy their way out of the problem. Then they come back and ask just someone for grace. Let us in. We didn't know any better. Let us in. Hoping there'll be a relationship that solves it for them. Maybe they're flirting their way through. Maybe they're begging their way through. We don't know. At the end, we have the voice that says, but I don't know you. 5 people coming to a spiritual gathering, a religious ceremony, and none of them prayed about it. We don't let God into the process. How often do we hold out inviting God into our process? Often we just wait to the last minute, right? Dear God, I have messed up. I'm in a hole. Please get me out. What would happen if we invited God in at the beginning? If we invited God to help us be accountable for who we want to be, who God made us to be? God will always be with us there in the mess, there in the confusion, there in the digging out. God will always be there holding the shovel with us, sitting in the muck. But we don't have to wait till the end to invite God into the process. We can ask God to be with us as we make a choice. Do or do not. Do or do not. Will we show up? Will we step up to be the people we say we are? We will be accountable for who we say we want to be, not just as individuals, but as a community, as a church, as the church of Jesus Christ in the world today. We cannot claim the naivety of the bridesmaids. We have lived too much. We've seen too much. We cannot claim that we didn't know the consequences. We've seen too much history. We've read too much. We know too much, even if people want us to pretend it didn't happen. We have to be accountable to who we say we want to be. And we will do best if we invite God to be with us as we answer that simple question. Do or do not.